Well, good morning, fun lovers. This is George McClellan. Today is Thursday, the 5th of January, 2017. Who can believe that? And I'm coming to you live. This is not a recording. I'm coming to you live from FetcherNews.com, North Georgia's only live online internet TV talk show. And the previous episodes that you have been watching is because BKP is covering a big news story, the opening, I believe, of the Georgia legislature, and he needs to be there for that. But I don't. I'm here. I'm coming to you from LJ, Georgia, and we'll just talk politics like we always do. It's no secret that I'm conservative, and I have opinions. I don't believe that everything that is conservative or said to be conservative is gospel, because we've watched the Republican Party fumble all that away time and time again, which is one reason why the Republican Party is in trouble, or was in trouble until Trump has re-energized it. I like to think that Trump is remaking the Republican Party in his image. It will be the independent Republican Party, my word, not his. I like that, and I will become a happy member of that, and I will even be happy to start a party here in this county, in the North Georgia district, if it counters these people who do nothing, the rhinos, as we call them. But anyway, on to the news. We have, of course, fireworks started immediately in the Congress yesterday. The Democrat Party, and I use that word because it's the old American word for one of our two political parties, but they are the Green Party. They are the Communist Party USA. They have been usurped and taken over, rotted out from the inside, and they now represent what I consider the evil forces, the dark forces of Bolshevik politics. And we saw it throughout Obama's term. Now, can you imagine talking about Obama? And I hate to mention the word because he's almost gone and it can't be soon enough. But here he is running around in Congress yesterday trying to convince the Democrats to save his legacy. And he's doing it. He's got a 2-week window and that's it. He's done. He's got 2 weeks and there's no Democrats there who can save his legacy. Chucky Schumer, the minority leader of the Senate, of the Democrats in the Senate, and that buffoon from California, Nancy Pelosi. And they voted her in to stay. And he's trying to convince these people that they need to do everything they can to save his legacy. And when I say that now, what's under attack? Obamacare. Obamacare is definitely under attack. So we have a lot of sources here that have some interesting take on what's happening in that Congress. And you listen to the spin, and you have the left-wing media on one side saying one thing, which is derogatory to what the Republicans want to do, and the Republicans who have control over everything are trying to make sense. The biggest problem for them is in Obamacare is they say the first step they're going to do is eliminate it. Yes, but it's not an easy process to just eliminate it. It is a 4-step plan, and I ran across this one that was very interesting. It will take some time to eliminate it because you just don't come in and turn off the water spigot, let the basin empty and go dry, and not have something to fill it up with again. The press will tell us the Republicans have nothing. They have no plan. Well, they do, and they've had a plan for a long time. And Georgia's Representative Tom Price, who has now been picked to, run the, be one of the cabinet secretaries. He has a plan. He's a medical doctor. He had a plan long in the works. The Republicans have worked it over to the point where almost everybody can agree on it. Paul Ryan agrees on most of it. And that plan is going to replace Obamacare. But there's the problems. How about the 26-year-old still living with his mom and dad? How about the people with pre-existing conditions? I mean, these were problems that never existed before Obamacare, because Obamacare encompassed everybody who had a story to tell that was a woe is me story. So you have pre-existing conditions. How do you define pre-existing conditions short of being eaten up by cancer, for example? Are they just going to spend money, taxpayer money, to keep you alive if you're going to die anyway? I'm not being harsh or hard. I'm just pointing out the obvious. This is what we think, but not everybody talks about it. We don't enter the discussions with these. So we allowed the Democrats, when they pushed this Obamacare on us, they forced it on us. We didn't have the moxie or the numbers to resist it, but the saving grace is we didn't vote for it, and I think that was probably the saving grace. But what can they do? How can the Republicans uproot the Obamacare, the Unaffordable No Care Act, which is, this article says, deeply embedded in the nation's system, and it's not deeply embedded because it came out as a lie and everybody knew it, and they were forced to buy and pay for things that they didn't want. So it's been resisted. It's deeply resisted is a better word, but it does cover 20 million people who gained coverage through the Affordable Care Act, the Unaffordable No Care Act. It is and it is not yet evident that millions of Americans with pre-existing medical conditions will be fully protected against disruptions in their health care, that they're going to have to cover that. But it will be covered, and it will be a change, and it will not be a communist health care system or a Canadian or a British. I've lived in England. I know how that system works. I've had experience with it. Not negative, mind you, because they hadn't run out of money yet, but they're getting close. A determined Republican president, Trump, and a Congress that agrees with him can gut the Affordable Care Act and do it quickly in a step-by-step health care method, which is a revolution in reverse. The Democrats told us this. Let's reverse that. It would undo many of the changes made since that thing was signed into law. When was it? March 2010? First, defying the filibuster. The Senate intends to pass a budget resolution next week that would shield repeal legislation from a Democrat filibuster. Well, we're back to the 51-60 vote. I think McConnell still believes in the process. Mitch McConnell, I think he still believes and has faith in the process, although Harry Reid knocked the support out from underneath it, where it required 60 senators to pass a bill. Reid knocked that out, said it only takes 51, but that's when Democrats held the majority in the Senate. They do not anymore, and now that Reid rule has come back to haunt the Democrats, and they have no way to get around it. The filibuster, they can try it. If the Senate completes its action, House Republican leaders hope that they too can approve a version of the budget resolution next week, and see whether they meet that goal or not. We don't know yet, because they're still milling about like sheep in a fold, trying to figure out their position and how to make it work. We have the 115th Congress in session. Paul Ryan's in charge, Mitch McConnell's on the Senate side. And they seem to be agreeing mostly with what Trump wants. It's how Trump will react. What he does on his tweet is an amazing piece of architecture, communication architecture. He makes things happen. He's not even president yet. He still has 2 weeks. The resolution contains seemingly innocuous language. I haven't read it, but I'm taking this article's word for it. Instructing 4 committees that control health care policy, and that's 2 in the Senate and 2 in the House, to draft legislation within their jurisdiction's mind, that would cut at least $1 billion from the deficit over 10 years. $1 billion. You know, we spend $13 billion a day in our Congress. Or maybe it's probably more than that now. So $1 billion is nothing. That's a blow in the wind. It's the $1 trillion that we have to worry about. But anyway, they're talking about $1 billion, getting it out of the deficit over 10 years. But the language has real teeth. The legislation produced to meet those instructions can pass the Senate with a simple majority, and we're back to the 51 votes, if all senators are present, obliterating the power of the Democrat majority to block it. And it's been obliterated, let me tell you. Regardless of what Schumer says, Chucky says, about, yes, we're going to stand against everything the Republicans bring up. He said this on CNN. I don't know who watches it anymore, except conservative talk hosts like myself and BKP. But they don't have the ability to make that happen. They simply lack that. Thank you, Harry Reid. The 4 committees I mentioned, 2 House, 2 Senate, will just have a few weeks until the 20th, actually, to produce legislation repealing major provisions of the Affordable Care Act. House Republicans have some practice in this because they have voted more than 60 times already since 2011, to repeal some or all of that Affordable Care Act. Of course, the president has vetoed it. Here's the second step. The committees, House Energy and Commerce, House Ways and Means, Senate Finance, Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions will quickly assemble legislation intended to eviscerate the health care law. Quickly assemble it, they say that because it's already there. It's Price's plan for health care, and they're going to move that right through. The repeal legislation will be in the form of a reconciliation bill. We've heard that word many times used, reconciliation. It was authorized by Congress by the Congressional Budget Act, believe it or not, of 1974. These bills can be adopted under special fast-track procedures. We've heard that before. I don't trust fast-track. That's what the Democrats love to do. We'll just push it through immediately and be done with it. And then here we are stuck with the bill as the taxpayers. But Senate rules generally bar the use of those procedures for measures that have no effect on spending or revenue. So the legislation, as now conceived, would probably leave the most popular provisions of the health care law intact for a while. That's why we hear this 2-year, 1-year, 2-year, 3-year thing from the Republicans, such as the prohibition on insurers denying coverage to people with pre-existing conditions. So instead, the legislature could eliminate the tax penalties. They've got to do that. People paying tax because they don't have insurance, that's a fine. They got to eliminate the penalties imposed on people who go without insurance, and on larger employers who do not offer coverage to employees. And that's that 50 employee rule. A job provider has to provide insurance if his staff is over 50 people. Well, what happened? Some of these staffs cut themselves down to 49 people and eliminated that rule. They got the heck out of it. Eliminate tens of billions of dollars provided each year to states that have expanded eligibility for Medicaid. There's Medicaid and Medicare. Medicare is for old people and seniors and the likes, and Medicaid is for the poor. It's for the people who cannot afford insurance. And they put ultra billions of dollars into that program through the states. The states can do it. Everything should be done by the states anyway. Repeal subsidies for private health insurance coverage obtained through the public marketplace known as exchanges. I don't know that I like that. The exchanges, of course, they put their own death trap in the exchanges when the Obamacare, how do I say this? When the Obamacare allowed states to opt out, and some of them did. Therefore, the money did not flow in. People did not buy insurance. People did not even pay their fines. So that one of the reasons why the Obamacare thing is collapsing is lack of money anyway, lack of enthusiasm, lack of drive. Could also repeal some of the taxes and fees that help pay for the expansion of coverage under the Affordable Care Act. But some Republicans have indicated that they may want to use some of that revenue for their as yet undetermined plan to replace a health care law. So that's why we have Republicans saying that slow down on this, we want to look at this a little closer. I'd like to know exactly who those Republicans are. I'd like to know their backgrounds in finance and healthcare and things like that. If they're just plunkers off of a farm, maybe their opinion doesn't matter, except for the fact that they vote. The 2010 law imposed taxes and fees on certain high-income people and on health insurers and manufacturers of brand name prescription drugs, medical devices. Remember the medical devices? What's a medical device? It could be anything you strap on your knee, your arm to keep you upright, your walkers, your canes, among other things. Republicans have not said for sure which taxes they will scrap and which they may keep. I think they already know it. The reason they don't say it is because the Democrats will go into tizzy fit or hissy fit, and we'll have another week of news articles condemning Republicans. So that's probably why we don't hear about it. Republicans say they will delay the effective date of their repeal to avoid disrupting coverage. That's an idea. And to provide time for them to develop alternatives. The alternatives have already been developed to the ADA. If they delay without telling us why, the people out here are going to be just angry as hell. We're not going to take it. This has to be eliminated. This has to be taken out root and branch. And these people delaying it, they better give us a very good reason why, and they better be open and transparent. And I'm talking about the Republican Congress. The Republican, if they go back to their old ways, like they tried initially to eliminate that ethics committee, which needs to be eliminated. I'm not saying that, but they tried to do it secretly, without transparency, and it blew up in their face. That was a good lesson right off the bat. It blew up right in their face. They disagree over how long the delay should last, with 2 to 4 years being mentioned as possibilities. Yes, I understand that. I do not argue against that point. They need to take those people who have these special programs under the Affordable Care Act, who can afford it because they were poor, and provide for them, and that will take some while. Now, what will Trump do? What's his role in this? This is the third step of this. Within days of taking office, Donald Trump plans to announce executive action on health care. We know that. Some may undo Obama administration policies. Others will be meant to stabilize health insurance markets and prevent them from collapsing in a vast sea of uncertainty. I absolutely agree with that. That certainly makes sense. We are working on a series of executive orders that the president-elect will put into effect to ensure that there is an orderly transition during the period after we repealed Obamacare to the market-based healthcare economy. And Mike Pence said that. Mike Pence is Trump's mouthpiece in the Congress. He was there, he knows how it works, and he is respected. So when he says something, that's coming from Trump. The Trump transition aides said that they had no information about the executive orders. Obama has a plethora of executive orders, and that's simply orders written on a piece of paper and signed by the president. And there is executive orders are like nothing. If the new president comes in and they don't meet the test of constitutionality or don't look like they do good for the country or the people, the new president can get rid of them, and that's what's going to happen. And we'll continue this discussion on the other side of these commercial breaks, so we'll see you on the other side.
El Rey and Ellijay. El Rey Mexican Restaurant. Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey in Ellijay.
Better days ahead.
This is the big one. The 20% off MSRP model year end clearance at Days Chevrolet in Jasper. With huge savings over $3,600 off the redesigned Malibu. Now just $20,400. Save over $8,600 off Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now just $33,500. 20% off new Chevys. Right here, right now. At Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead. Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
Pizza Hut makes the best pizza in the entire universe, but they won't tell you that. I've been marooned on this planet for a while now. You are an impressive race. Your children know excellent hiding places. Your oceans aren't filled with lava. And you figured out how to combine a grilled cheese sandwich with a Pizza Hut pizza. Surely interstellar travel will soon follow, and then I can finally get back home. Round. Round like home. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza, proof that no one out-pizzas the Hut.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Pizza Hut makes great pizza, but they can't tell you what a gift it is. I can. They took a grilled cheese and combined it with stuffed crust pizza. To think, I almost wasn't here to try it.
How did
It's
you?
not important, Jen. What's important is that I watched the sunrise this morning. Then I got to stand in a room filled with this pizza. And later I'll stare at the ocean. Or maybe I'll learn Russian. Or listen to jazz. Or try my hand at needlework. Or open a door for a beautiful woman. Or read a human interest story or make dessert wine. Or ride a wild horse. Or experiment with watercolors. Eat every slice like it's your last. Especially you, Doug. Especially Doug, right? You care about Doug. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza. Proof that no one out-pizzas the Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
Looking for in a vehicle, start your search at Schottenkirk Ford Jasper. We've simplified the process so you can move on to what matters, your family.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Well, welcome back to FYN TV. This is George's Hour on North Georgia's only live internet talk show. I'm George McClellan, and I'm coming to you live from LJ, Georgia, in Gilmer County, up in the North Georgia Mountains. If you want to comment, you can call 706-889-9700. I was talking about the four-step replacement plan for the Affordable Care Act, the Unaffordable No Care Act. The fourth point I started to talk about was the transition and what transition aides are saying about the Affordable Care Act. Some options are apparent. The federal government could continue providing financial assistance to insurance companies to protect them against financial losses and to prevent consumer premiums from soaring more than they have already during Obama's term. Well, we're trying to eliminate that, aren't we? I mean, the federal government has no business spending taxpayers' money keeping private businesses afloat. It's unconstitutional, among other things. All right, find a replacement. Even as they move full speed forward, gutting the existing health care law, Republicans are scrambling to find a replacement. At the moment, they have no consensus. Consensus and replacement are two different words. They don't all agree on the plan they have, and the plan they have is the one that Tom Price has designed. Tom Price, a medical doctor, he knows this inside and out, and his plan will be tweaked, but it will not be disregarded. Mr. Vice President-elect Pence on Wednesday said that the replacement would probably encourage greater use of personal health savings and make it easier for carriers to sell insurance across state lines. It would encourage small businesses to band together and buy insurance through association healthcare plans as sponsored by business and professional organizations. What a keen idea is that? That's where insurance companies first originated in America. That's how they were able to afford it. We had State Farm, and these kind of groups all started by groups coming together to form their own insurance company to provide for all their members. It was very cooperative and it worked, and they're still out there and they still work. Government got in there and has screwed it up. So we have to unscrew it, get government out. Some type of subsidy or tax credit for consumers to help defray the cost of premiums is also likely. Well, if my premium is affordable, why should I get a subsidy? I don't need a government helping me pay for my health care. But on the other, what's really made this thing so obvious is the fact that people who had insurance before the Unaffordable No Care Act, their premiums went up 116% in the state of Arizona, and so did the deductible, $5,000. You had to spend $5,000 or $8,000 of your own money even before the insurance would kick in, and that was each year. So if I can afford it and there's insurance I want, then that's for me. I don't need the government. I just don't need government to provide me money. I want them to pay me what I earned working for them, and what they took away from me in Social Security, return that as well. Donald Trump, it is also likely the states would have more authority to set insurance standards. I absolutely agree with that. And the federal government would have less. What a brilliant idea that is. Trump has endorsed the idea of state-run, and I like this, high-risk pools for people with pre-existing conditions who would otherwise have difficulty finding affordable coverage. Okay, the states can provide that kind of coverage for people with pre-existing conditions, but the government cannot force a private business, an insurance company, to sell, to insure somebody whose medical costs already are going to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars because of their condition. Doctors, hospitals, yes. Experts have said that repealing the health care law without a clear plan, and I agree, to replace it would create havoc in insurance markets. Absolutely it would. Doctors, hospitals, and insurance companies do not know what to expect. Without an effective requirement for people to carry insurance and without subsidies to buy it, supporters of the law say many healthy people would go without coverage, knowing they could obtain it if they became ill and needed it. Well, right now all they do is go to the emergency room of hospitals. The law requires them to be treated there. Doesn't work for pre-existing conditions, but that's it. Democrats in Congress say they will do everything they can to thwart Republican efforts to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. They plan to dramatize their case by publicizing the experiences of people whose lives have been saved or improved by the law. I don't care. Makes no difference to me. We see these advertisements on television all the time about starving children in the world. Will you please send money? Or poor abused animals, and you see a shivering. You know, those same videos have been shown for 5 years in a row in the wintertime. The same ones. And does that money go to help those people? No. Will this insurance money to go to help? No, it will not. It will go into the pockets of people who administer these programs. Democrats will demand votes intended to put Republicans on record against proposals that could protect consumers. Well, now we're getting down to politics. Oh, you're bad because you want to do this. Let's put you on record by voting against it or for it, whatever. Democrats, defenders of the law, also hope to mobilize groups like the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association to speak up for patients. Well, let them try. They can do it. The Senate Democratic leader Schumer of New York and House Democratic leader Pelosi of California are encouraging their colleagues to organize rallies around the country on January the 15th to oppose the Republican health care agenda. And to buttress their case, Democrats are compiling statistics from the White House and from researchers at liberal-leaning groups. I tell you, liberal-leaning groups, all of their narratives are foo news. It's fake, false news. It's false statistics. You know, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And the Republicans are on top. I think conservatives are on top and will fight these things whenever they rear their ugly head. One of the centers, listen to this, is Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, the Commonwealth Fund, and the Urban Institute. They all warn, those three, of catastrophic consequences if the law is repealed. I think the last catastrophic consequence to our Earth was when a meteor plunged into the surface and killed all the dinosaurs. That was probably catastrophic, at least for dinosaurs it was. So there we go. And that article, believe it or not, came from the New York Times. And surprisingly, I don't generally read the New York Times, generally, but when I see a headline that attracts my attention, I'll regard it, and that one took my attention, and we discussed it. The whole discussion on Obamacare doesn't end there. After Obama, some health reforms may prove lasting. Fragments of bone and cartilage arched across the operating room as Dr. So-and-so drilled into the knee of the first patient at a hospital here at dawn. Within hours, the 66-year-old woman had a replacement joint of titanium, cobalt chrome, and she was sent home the next day. The Obama administration was watching over her caregiver's shoulder. If over 3 months her medical costs exceeded the target amount set by bureaucrats, President Obama's health regulators in Washington, the doctor's employer, Indiana University Health, stood to lose money. In other words, you can fix it, but you can only fix it for this much. And anything after that, I'm sorry, we're not going to support it. So we have those. Such efforts to squeeze spending out of the nation's healthcare system may well remain as Mr. Obama exits the West Wing and Donald Trump takes his seat in the Oval Office. What's interesting, the article mentioned this woman had a knee replacement out of specialized metal once only used in airplanes and discharged the next day. I had that same experience myself with a disc that bent me over, and I had to walk with a cane for a while just so I wouldn't injure myself. And I can guarantee you, I went in and had the disc replacement, and the next day I was sent home, and a week later I was up walking around painless, pain-free. I'm absolutely amazed at what technology brings. Staying in hospitals is expensive. Staying in hospitals is dangerous because that's where all of the coccal infections come from. It seems like more people die from infections obtained in hospitals than die in airplane accidents. And so the cost attending that has to be surrounded treatment and therapy. Once you got a new knee or a new hip, the cost of treatment and therapy should be affordable for anybody. And if you buy the insurance and it's in there, then they'll pay for it. But the old saw of having these people look over your shoulder and tell you what you can't do, what they will not pay for, that's got to come to an end. If you have the insurance, it should cover what you need. So anyway, that was an interesting little article, I thought. Interesting. I mentioned that we're in the 5th day now of the new Congress, the 115th Congress, and this headline on it says turmoil overshadows first day of the Republican-controlled Congress. They did. That was their attempt to end the Ethics Committee, which should be ended. The parliamentary tactic that could obliterate Obamacare. We already know what that is. That's the vote. 51 versus 60 majority vote. Another interesting thing, remember Eric Holder, former first black Attorney General of the United States under Obama. He has now been hired by the state of California to act as a legal bulwark against Donald Trump. You know, if Donald Trump plays his cards right and Sessions becomes the Attorney General, Holder's role in Fast and Furious has not been redefined. He ran that. Obama wanted it. They were looking for a reason to have guns controlled by the government, to usurp the power of the Second Amendment, and Holder initiated the Fast and Furious program. Well, he didn't initiate it. It started under George W. Bush's program, but it was completely run differently. The Bush serialized every weapon that went out, the Bush administration, the ATF, serialized every weapon that went out, knew where they went, could follow them, and not one weapon was ever used for anything except as evidence against the bad guy when it was recovered and an arrest was made. Under Holder, however, weapons just went out in boxes to Mexico, to ganglands, and they started killing people, including one border patrolman. And that was a criminal act. That's the whole thing was a criminal act, and Holder has to account for it. It has to be accounted for. Americans want justice. We expect justice, and we do not expect that the puppets of people who are trying to change our government to a socialist government, we do not expect them to walk away free because there's a change. Anyway, speaking of change, we'll have a few words and then we'll see you on the other side.
El Rey and Ellijay.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ellijay.
Better days ahead.
This is the big one, the 20% off MSRP model year-end clearance at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, with huge savings over $3,600 off the redesigned Malibu. Now just $20,400. Save over $8,600 off Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now just $33,500. 20% off new Chevys. Right here, right now, at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead. Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
Pizza Hut makes the best pizza in the entire universe, but they won't tell you that. I've been marooned on this planet for a while now. You are an impressive race. Your children know excellent hiding places. Your oceans aren't filled with lava. And you figured out how to combine a grilled cheese sandwich with a Pizza Hut pizza. Surely interstellar travel will soon follow. And then I can finally get back home. Round. Round like home. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza. Proof that no one out-pizzas the Hut.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Pizza Hut makes great pizza, but they can't tell you what a gift it is. I can. They took a grilled cheese and combined it with stuffed crust pizza. To think, I almost wasn't here to try it.
How did you?
It's not important, Jan. What's important is that I watched the sunrise this morning. Then I got to stand in a room filled with this pizza. And later I'll stare at the ocean. Or maybe I'll learn Russian. Or listen to jazz. Or try my hand at needlework. Or open a door for a beautiful woman. Or read a human interest story or make dessert wine. Or ride a wild horse. Or experiment with watercolors. Eat every slice like it's your last. Especially you, Doug. Especially Doug, right? You care about Doug. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza. Proof that no one outpieces the Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
Looking for in a vehicle? Start your search at Schottenkirk Ford Jasper. We've simplified the process so you can move on to what matters, your family.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Well, welcome back, fun lovers. George McClellan here, coming to you live from LJ, Georgia on FetcherNews.com TV. And this is Thursday, and this is live, and we were talking about the healthcare system. And the last thing I wanted to mention about the healthcare is, well, what was it? You were just telling me, and you took the idea right out of my mind. I wanted to say one other thing, though. I'm going to read my final thoughts here in a minute, and it morphs into something's going on right now. I mentioned at the beginning of this, Obama is in the Congress right now trying to push his save the healthcare system. Obama is doing everything he can to save his legacy, what little bit of it is left. Part of his legacy is his failure to unite the races. The races were doing fine. Blacks and whites were coming together. We absolutely have two levels of everybody. We have people who earn money, and we have people who take money, no matter what the race is. No matter. The largest portion of takers, as it happens, is in the black race. The ghettos, I hate that word ghettos, the inner cities, the urban areas are filled with uneducatable, unemployable black youths with single mothers, no fathers around, whose only outcome is to commit crimes. And now, apart from 791 murders this year in the city of Chicago, we now have 4 black youths, 2 males, 2 females, empowered by the lack of Obama to bring the races together, to feel they can just take some white kid and torture him and film it and put it on Facebook and beat him up and torture him, cut him, injure him, strip him of his clothes before they put him back out on the street. Why they didn't kill him, I do not know, but this is a hate crime, the hate crime of all crimes. And I will say this, the left, the Democrats will tell you blacks cannot commit hate crimes because they are the minority and they have been slaves and they have been at the bottom of the heap. Who's kept them there? Not the Republican Party, the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party, the party of the Ku Klux Klan, the party of lynchings, the party that enslaved through the black race through entitlements. And if you're getting money from the government, you don't have to work for it. You have nothing to do except sit around and wait for that next check and idle your time away with mischief. The Bible tells us, idle hands is the devil's playground. Never more true. Now we have these 4 black kids torturing on film a white child, a white boy, who apparently, I say child, I think he might have been in his 20s, old enough to be on his parents' insurance still. But they tortured him and made it political by forcing him to say bad things about Donald Trump. So where did these kids get the empowerment idea in their mind? Kids who come out of a ghetto and have nothing anyway, that they can suddenly become supremacists over a mentally defective white guy. Or anybody for that matter. You don't have to be white. In this case, they chose a white guy and they filmed it. And they will be, is it a hate crime? The left will tell you, no, it's not a hate crime. Only whites can commit hate crimes. I'm tired of that. This is going to come to an end. This has got to come to an end. Those people have to be educated. They have to be made to want education. They have to be made to work, find jobs, and have the skills to do those jobs. I don't know what they are because everything's changing to robotics, but there's something out there for everybody, and they've got to be able to earn their way, not just be kept. And that's the kept race. And I said there was two styles. We have so many wonderful black people in government. Thomas Sowell, who just has retired, a great thinker and writer. Herman Cain right here in Georgia. He's on a radio station every morning. Ben Carson, who's been selected for a secretary position. It's just amazing how many. It shows that race is not hopeless. That race is does not lack the ability to get things done and have people who can do it. It's just that they're not allowed to do it. And now they move on because Obama and Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson have stood up at Black Lives Matter in Ferguson, Missouri, and in Baltimore, and they have empowered violence against anybody they don't like. And we saw the result of it in Chicago yesterday. So, with Donald Trump, the political die has been cast, and Obama's reign is gratefully about over. A new sheriff is in town, so what does Obama do in his twilight hours? He spends his remaining days trying to complete the destruction of America's reputation and his own legacy to boot. He stabbed Israel in the back. Could Japan be next? Or South Korea? Donald Trump waits in the wings, tweeting his battle plans for erasing Obama's nightmare from the history books. Or we're supposed to think that. I think it will happen, but it will not be an easy path. Gratefully, the law prevents Obama a third term, but by all appearances, he will not retire quietly to his home in blood-drenched Chicago. He'll stick around D.C. and create a shadow government to direct the progressive haters in their mission of impeding Donald Trump's anti-socialist agenda, his pro-business agenda. And the Eidetic piece of history reminds us once that a sovereign, Mary, Queen of Scots, but out of power, schemed against her cousin Elizabeth I of England, also a queen, but in power, and she lost her head for it. Just saying, politics can be bloody. Admittedly, the 2016 presidential election was unprecedented. It was a complete repudiation of Obama. And his policies. Few pundits or poll takers correctly read the tea leaves that clearly indicated a major shift in the political spectrum was on the horizon, a shift that moved America from politically correct socialism to a return to the Constitution and rule of law. We hope. We expect it. The change was earth-shattering, and the hope that sprang instantly in the breast of almost all Americans, at least those I've met, hopeful for America's future, their futures, rose suddenly to heights of near giddy pleasure. Festering in the back of my mind, however, is a nagging thought, not an anti-Trump one, mind you. I'm for Trump. But a pang of concern that has twice awakened me in the middle of the night. It is the uncertainty of just what or who we really voted for. Anybody but Hillary, I get that. Actually, I suspect the elites who really govern us get it too. Perhaps Trump was the elite's candidate in the end. Now, figure this, Trump is a highly successful businessman and New Yorker. He's got to know how to game the system. Money flows through his accounts like it does in every other big business. Trump is a New Yorker. New York is where Wall Street and all the major banks and world financial institutions are located. And Donald is definitely not an outsider. He might be a political outsider in Washington, but he's not a financial outsider in New York City. Trump was elected on the populist promise he made that he would drain the swamp. The federal government for the past several years have had, as their secretaries of the Treasury, swamp creatures from Goldman Sachs, bankers. Trump has two. His selection for Secretary of the Treasury is Goldman Sachs banker Steven Mnuchin, once an associate of George Soros, another Wall Street banker, big European. He's the guy that brought the English sterling down. Trump selected Goldman Sachs banker Gary Cohn to chair the National Economic Council. And lastly, Steve Bannon, formerly a Goldman Sachs investment banker, was chosen as a personal economic advisor to the White House, Trump. So there we have the swamp creatures, to use a negative term to paint it, directing our monetary policy. The Fed will not be eliminated as much as we like it. If these people are in there, the Fed will not go. The IMF will get stronger. Do these people really want to drain the swamp? I don't think so. Who advised Trump to make these choices? Was it a political insider like Reince Priebus, for example, currently the head of the Republican National Committee, soon to be the chief of staff for Donald Trump in the White House? They're not the only economic pros capable of reining in America's economic woes, if that's what we intend to do. Was Trump really the elite's choice? Was a fix really in? I'm just asking. It certainly gives one pause when you think about it. It woke me up twice. For conservatives like me, these thoughts may border on heresy, but it is important to protect the movement. Personally, I think Hillary Clinton was so despised by everybody for the odious creature that she really is, that her ascendancy to the presidency was simply unthinkable to the New World Order banker class. Is it possible that all of Trump's outrageous tweets and offensive off-the-cuff comments were made newsworthy by the mainstream media because others, the world bankers, wanted it? I'm just asking. Because Trump spent so little on advertising and got so much free advertising that it's remarkable. Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton had millions of dollars in their campaign chests, and it went for naught. It went for naught. And Trump spent hardly anything in comparison. How many millions of free advertising did Trump campaign enjoy by the screeching mainstream media? In the media's past history of presidential campaigns, unwanted candidates atrophied because they were simply ignored. We saw that with Gary Johnson in this campaign, and Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate. They were practically ignored. They had to do something outrageous to even get on 5 minutes on the local television. Their message, like Hillary's, came at a high cost of advertising dollars. Trump wasn't ignored. He had free advertising from the very beginning, abetted by the useful idiots in the media who really hate him. That fear aside, on the other hand, Trump has appointed people who are known doers, successful, proven leaders not corrupted by prior government service, who can organize, manage, and reduce the spending of a bloated federal government. Stop the tide. They can stop the tidal way of onerous business-killing regulations and reduce to levels of efficiency bureaus and agencies whose job descriptions changed years ago while they didn't. Trump's choices include 3 general officers, several successful wealthy business leaders, a former governor, and a couple head-bashing congressmen to be his cabinet secretaries. That can't be bad. Trump's choices are people pledged to reduce the waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayer money and make government meaningful, if not smaller. Interestingly, some do not agree with all of Trump's ideas and have said so. Trump, however, knows what he wants, knows what they can do, and if he wanted to surround himself with yes men who simply agreed with him all the time, he could have simply kept Obama's staff. I, for one, am very hopeful that Trump will succeed. His window of change is short before the dark forces of the lower class organize themselves to resist. I'm especially worried about the establishment's never Trump Republicans who, facing the inevitable, will simply become never change Republicans. And through Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, might actively attempt to derail Donald Trump's initiative for draining the swamp. We have an irony here, I think. Oscar Wilde once said, there's only one thing in life worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about. That phrase is so true in politics. If politicians were truly experienced business amateurs from the ranks for short periods of time and not pointy-headed intellectuals, products of academe, then perhaps our problems would sink in kind. Thank you for listening to me. This is the end of my hour. Tomorrow's Friday. I will not be on Friday. I'll see you Monday morning at 10:30. Y'all be careful out there. We might have snow this weekend, so drive safe.